I'd like to ask this to probably Coach Waz, but I'll give it to you, Coach. Was today a good day for Brendan Presley on special teams?
That's a Waz question for sure. All I know is I was jumping up and down in the box. That's about it. So I was pretty excited about it, watching him roll. So good stuff.
What did you see from Spencer today? What really made him so effective?
You know, he's getting much more control. We've talked about this a lot. You know, he's getting much more control of what we do on offense and feels comfortable back there with the calls and, you know, feels comfortable with the offensive line. When it breaks down, he knows to, you know, there's certain situations where he knows to run. His first year, his first inclination was to run all the time. If there was any kind of pressure at all, his eyes dropped and he ran. Now he's sitting back there looking for the receiver to come open, and he's trusting his big kids and standing there waiting for the throw. If it completely closes in on him, then he's out and he's running. So that's what I think makes him most effective right now is he's playing with his arm and his head and with his feet last.
Does that help him also when he scrambled? Because he had a couple times when he scrambled where he could have run but he found a receiver.
Yeah. Yeah, and the one, you know, that he tossed out there to Tay, you almost wish he would have kept running. You know, he kind of, there was a little bit of a low ball. Tay went down to go make a play, and they just didn't end up hooking it up. That's one I'm like, oh man, just keep running. But I'm glad he did that because his eyes are down the field, and that's exactly what we want from him. We want his eyes down the field, not so much looking to run the football every time that he feels pressure.
Kasey, your offense in the first half was really good. Stagnated in the second half, but that option play seemed to take the lid off everything a little bit. How big was that play, and why did it work so well?
You know, it's just one of those plays that we've kind of kept in our pocket for a long time, and we've been practicing it, you know, and sometimes we think it's going to be a pitch, and most of the time he's ended up pitching that thing out there. And but you know, this is a good pull. You know, it was a good pull, and he kept the rock, and it looked good. So, and you know, we're not saying that thing's going to score. I mean, don't get me wrong. We're just trying to move the chains with that thing. So for us to get the score out of it was a little bit of icing on that. We thought that we'd get a good chunk and a little spark, and it ended up being a massive play in the game. So, and it did change momentum for sure. You know, it's just kind of odd. You know, that lull that we had. It was weird. We were off the field for just so long. You know, we just had, you know, the end of the second quarter and the third quarter. It was just there were weird situations in the game to where we didn't have the ball on offense. You know, and when we did, it was, you know, a couple plays and out, and then it just felt like we were, you know, not out there very much. So you got out of rhythm, you know, a little bit out of sorts, but got it back with that play for sure.
Kasey, there's that 16-point swing there, really, where it goes OU's way, end of second quarter, start of third quarter. Why do you think this team didn't spiral and just let it get even worse?
You know, it's probably, we've been in this situation so many times before. You know, we've talked about it, it's strange. This goes all the way back to 2011, and Coach Munkin was the offensive coordinator here. I remember, you know, like it was yesterday, he comes walking in at halftime, and there was no panic. You know, we were getting our tails kicked in at A&M, you know, the year that we won it, the Big 12 championship. But there was no panic, and that has kind of stayed with our program over the years. You know, Gundy made a big deal out of that, and that's always been something that we've talked about here, and it's been in the back of my mind too, is just not showing this panic or emotion or just believing that you're going to have a chance to come back in and make a play. And our guys believe it. They really do. So it was great. You know, it was great. But it goes all the way back to me. It goes all the way back to 2011, my first year here, and seeing how that situation was handled. And we've been in a lot of those situations, you know, in those past 11 years. And most of them seem to come out in our favor.
One more for Coach.
Were you on the field with the celebration, or was your
I was
viewpoint
up in
of
the
that?
box. I tried to get down there, but there's bodies everywhere. You know, unfortunately, there were young ladies laid out, and I was like, man, what is going on here? But it was fun. I saw, you know, a bunch of my old receivers. We had a great, you know, picture afterwards, and man, it was exciting. You know, Dez and Hubert Anniam and just Josh Stewart, a bunch of guys came back, Nick Rockwell, and for my receivers to see those guys come back, celebrate with them, man, tonight could not have been any better. Thanks, Coach.